Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me again today. I have been in my office this weekend creating and making up some projects for my new design team shop, Craft Stash. So this is the card we're going to create today. Loads of sequins in there, kind of blocking my sentiment. So we're going to change the sentiment just slightly and we're going to actually put it down so that the sequins don't get stuck on there. I thought it'd be cool because I popped some foam under there and I thought that then it would stick close to here and then the sequins wouldn't cover it, but unfortunately the sequins still cover it. So we've got this beautiful music note kind of edge popped up on foam, and I've made a little shaker out of it, and the inside looks like this. So we are going to create this card together. It's quite quick and quite simple. So to get started, we've got this new die set from Creative on Craft Stash. So you've got your outer square, so you can cut that with your music notes, or you can cut your music notes straight into your cardstock and it won't cut an edge, so you can pick however big you want it to be. Then you've got the center square element, and then you've got these bonus sort of extra dies there. Then also I've got some blue glitter cardstock. I picked this up, I believe, from Hobbycraft. I will try and link it down below. And as per usual, my cardstock is always from Lime Tree Craft, and I've got 50 sheets of 300 black GSM for £4.50. Now, when cutting this, this is obviously a pearlescent card, so it's quite cool. I struggled with cutting it through on my first card. As you can see, it didn't fully cut there on the edge, and that is purely because it's really thick cardstock. The other thing we're going to be using in the collection, there are also these two stamp sets. These are the mindfulness stamp sets, and they kind of all coordinate. We've got music notes stamps. So let's get started. So one quick thing to point out is that our base, our die, is 5 by 5 inches. Now on my card, I really wanted a nice thick border around the edge, because that way I can use my thick double-sided foam tape, and I really just wanted a nice thick border around it. So if you want to have a thinner border, then obviously you can make it smaller. So because this is a 5 by 5 die, my outer edge to get the extra width is 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. Now obviously then my card base is then going to be 6 by 6 when folded, therefore meaning when open it's going to be 12 inches long. So that doesn't bother me, because whenever I buy cardstock from Lime Tree Craft, I usually pick it up in the 24 by 12 as well. So, or A3 I should say. So I've got this giant A3 sheet of cardstock here, and I can just cut my card base really easily. So if you would like to keep your card in fitting with your cardstock, then make sure you just cut it down so that it will fit the length of your cardstock. Today I'm going to do a 6 by 6 card, and I'm able to do that because I do have this long sheet of paper, or long sheet of card I should say. Also, if you've got 12 by 12 cardstock, that's the easiest way to get a 6 by 6 card as well. So if you've got scrapbooking cardstock, that will work perfect. Okay, so I've gone and cut those down. I've got 5 3/4 by 5 3/4 for my top square. I've then cut my glitter, non-shed glitter card at the same 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, so that when we come to do our shaker and we put it together, it's not this guessing game of where on earth this is going to go, because we're going to really struggle to see. You'll see in a minute what I mean. So we've got that. Then we've got our base, which is 12 by 6. I'm just going to fold that over. And I love doing black card, and I love doing this pearlescent black card. So I always put in a white insert, usually a pearlescent white to kind of go with the pearlescent black. So that's our card base. So that is going to go on the top like that, and you get this nice little border all around the edge. So the next thing we're going to want to do is line up and aim for the middle our top die here. Now I've got this washi tape from AliExpress. This is brilliant stuff. I just ordered 6 more rolls of it. So I'll link that down below. But this is post-it note tape, sorry, not washi tape. Really, really low tack. I've bought the post-it note tape version. It cost me £6 or £7. And this is exactly the same. It really is the exact same. So I won't be spending my money on that again. So we're just going to line it up. I'm apologizing, my light has been on all day, so I think it's having a bit of a breakdown. It's wanting to turn itself off. So we are going to tape that into place and do the same on the other side. And just so it doesn't shift inside our die cutting machine. And actually I will move that in a minute, otherwise it won't fit through the Big Shot. Now, on the back, you can see there's one corner that's kind of slightly cut and another one that's cut. I'm going to line up those two slightly cut corners with the two corners that have got sort of pictures on them. So these corners are perfectly square, these corners are a little bit dimensional. I'm going to stick that in the middle inside there. It's hard to see, so I hope you don't see my head poking over. We're just going to put that on there. And then we'll just move this one over. And you could measure all this, but I have no time for measuring. We just go with it. So there we go. And we're going to run that through the Big Shot. Now, if you're using thinner cardstock or paper, you should be absolutely fine. I'm going to go ahead and stick another sheet of probably copy paper, maybe a couple layers of copy paper underneath to try and get that die to push through a bit better and get a really good cut. And I will run it through this direction and then I will run it through that direction, and then hopefully it will cut out everything. I was just struggling with those two corners when I did it the first time round, purely because this cardstock is ridiculously thick. So we've got that. There's our image. Now don't lose this, we need this, so keep it and make sure you're paying attention to the orientation of it. And then these will all just pop out like so. So we've got that all cut out. Now, I'm notorious for getting things. We also need a piece of acetate, obviously, because we're making a shaker card. My acetate I cut to just under 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, so that it will fit just inside there, because I'm not so good at lining up and I don't want my acetate to go a bit funny. So what we're going to do first is we're going to adhere that acetate onto the back. To do that, I've got this tape from Alina's shop on AliExpress. I will link that down below. It's super duper strong tape. I really like it for making shaker cards. It does not seem to come off. Very good quality, very strong. So I've got that on there, and you can see, because I use such thick cardstock and because I ran it through with such a thick sandwich, my paper is quite warped. So it's kind of bubbling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my strong tonic glue, this stuff here, and I'm just going to apply some of it. I'm going to do around the square edge there, and I'm going to apply it to some of the bigger parts, but just the smallest amount, because I don't want that seeping through and getting stuck on my acetate. So I'm going to take my adhesive off of the sides first, apply a bit of liquid glue, then we're going to stick down our acetate, and I'm going to put something heavy on it to hold it down and let it dry for a few minutes. I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm just going to rub over the adhesive tape. I'm not going to rub over the glue because I don't want that to squish out. And now my Arteza pencil case, this ridiculously heavy tin, is going to come in handy. I'm going to stick that down on there, and it's quite heavy and weighted, and I'm going to leave that sit for about 5 minutes. Okay, so we left that to dry a few minutes. And now you can see there's still, the liquid adhesive is still a bit wet, purely because we're putting it on plastic, but you can see there's none that have seeped through on this side. So that's really good. Now, one of the bonuses to doing a piece on the back like this is the fact that you then don't have to worry about, when you go to adhere it to your card, all the shaker elements falling out, which is why I like to have kind of a piece like this. Now what we want to do is I want that black piece to be right in the center on the back here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use some temporary adhesive. I've got this stuff which I got from Every Craft's a Pound for £1. I'm going to stick it, the temporary adhesive, onto the front of it. Okay. Then I'm going to line it up with the back because it's see-through. I can see where I'm going. I'm going to line it up like that. Now I've got that exactly centered where I want it to go on my card. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put some of my super strong sticky tape, because this is non-shed glitter, so it peels off really quickly and easily if you don't use something really strong. So I'm going to go ahead and apply a bunch of my super strong tape to the back of this square. Okay, so I have got my sticky tape all over the back of there, and again, like before, I'm just gonna give it a firm rub down to make sure it's nice and stuck. But I want to be careful when I'm rubbing not to shift my temporary adhesive on the back of there. So I'm gonna peel all these off and then we'll be ready to stick it on. Our release paper is off, so we're ready to stick it on. And all I'm gonna do is, because these are the exact same size, I'm just gonna hold them up to each other like so, and just press that down. Then we can pull this off like that. We can rub this bit of temporary adhesive off. Right, so now that that's on, we're going to turn this over and we are going to rub very firmly on the back because of this glitter card. So I'm going to really, really rub that on. Okay, now that is stuck on there. Right, so I've got to make sure that it's this way around and not the other way around, because that's how the corners match up. So I'm going to put a T on the top of both of my back ones in hopes that I remember and line them up correctly. So that's gonna be the top, and I can't mark that with a T, can I? Let's find my silver marker. So I've got this permanent metallic one. I'm just gonna put a T up there so I don't forget that that's the top. Except that's not gonna work because I'm about to put my shaker foam there. So we need to just remember that's the top. So I am so forgetful. I'm going to put a bit of post-it note tape just on that side so I know that that's the top there, because I will forget. We've got this foam tape here which is from Alina's shop. I will link it down below. There's also the 5mm, which is half this width. This is the 10mm, and that's what I'm going to use along my card today because I made it nice and wide. If you want to do a thinner one, then the 3mm or 5mm will probably be best. And I love this foam tape. It is really sticky. It's really good. Now what you want to do is make sure you go right to the edge of your tape. You don't want any gaps protruding. If you have any gaps, that's where we're going to have problems. So we want to make sure that we are keeping that tape right butted up next to the other one. Now before we move on to filling our shaker, I want to make sure that we have our sentiment on here. So I have got my little tin of sentiments that I use from Tailored Expressions. I've shared these with you several times. I absolutely love them. They cost me a fortune, so I like to use them a lot, and they are just perfect for everything. Okay, so I ran out, so I just went and quickly made a whole bunch more. And I want that happy birthday to you one, and then the rest can just all go in my box for another time. And you just pop them all out like this. It works a dream. And like I said, they weren't cheap, but I have used it so much and it just seems to be perfect for everything I need. Okay, so this time, instead of popping it up on foam tape, I'm just gonna stick it straight down onto the card. So I've got my sticky back on there. And you could use liquid glue if you wanted, because you're sticking it straight onto card, not onto the glitter cardstock, so it would be fine either way. I'm gonna roughly aim for the middle. I'm not so good at aiming. There we go. Just double check. Okay, good, I've got it on the top. Right, now we're going to fill our shaker card. There's our top. Make sure my top stays at the top. I buy all my gems and all my sequins from Alina's shop. I love her stuff. I've got absolutely loads from her shop. lots of gems and things. I think I'm going to stick with the sequins today. So I've got this box here. I'm trying not to catch that glare of the light. I've got a lot of these glitter sequins, which are my favorite from her shop, so I'm going to use some of those glitter ones. I've got some of these sort of bluey ones I'll use. Got another box down by my desk full of sequins as well from her shop that I haven't got in jars yet. Now this is a large card, so we can put quite a few in if we feel like. Right, we got our top there. We're going to make sure that we line our top up with this one, and this is where it comes in really handy to have the exact same size top and base. Okay, the moment of truth. I'm going to aim this center, line up with all my edges, say a little prayer. Right, and then we're going to firmly press that down, because once it's even partly down, there's no point in even trying to rip it back up. And look! It's in the center! Hooray! I love when things work out. So that worked a treat, and look how many little shaker bits are in there. How fun is that? Right, let's work on our inside of our card, because obviously we're not going to write a message on the black. We're not going to see it. So I am going to, again, cut a piece of white cardstock to 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. Okay, so we've got a white piece of cardstock, and we're going to do our stamping first, because if we muck it up, then we can flip it over and do it again, or we can cut a new one. I always like to do my inside before I stick it in the card, just to save on an oopsie. Again, I will try and link everything down below that I used today, just in case you'd like to try and find it yourself. Now I've got this Tim Holtz stamping platform. I'm going to stick that in there. I'm going to take my stamp set. I'm going to go with Birthday Wishes from this one. And I'm just going to aim for the center, so then I'll pick that up with my platform. So I'm going to use my VersaFine Onyx Black. And then what we're going to do, take that stamp off. I'm going to use some of the music notes from this set here, and I want to just add a little bit of detail onto my card. So I'm going to stick those on. Now what I also like to do to kind of blend it into the card is I like to do the edges in a bit of black ink. So I'm going to take my makeup sponge, my black ink pad, just going to dip it in there, and I'm just going to kind of dust the edges and just kind of add that black little edge around it. I'm going to stick this to the side to dry for a second, and we can work on mounting our front panel. So we've got our shaker card, and we're going to stick it onto our card base. I'm going to use liquid glue, so I've got a bit of wiggle room. I'm going to turn that over, stick it down, and because we use that liquid, we can kind of wiggle it into place into the center of the card. And it just takes a few seconds to adhere, so I'm just going to push down to allow that to adhere a bit. And that's on the front of our card. Then I'm going to take my back panel, and again, be mindful those edges probably are still a bit wet. So I'm avoiding touching those edges because I know that they're still a little bit wet. So I'm getting nice and close. I'm just kind of giving that a little rub on there. And make sure it's not going to wiggle at all. And then I can put that down and press it a bit more firmly because it's all black. And that completes our little card. So we've got this really fun shaker card with our fun budget die set and stamp set. Now the other thing that is important not to forget is don't forget your envelope. So I've got these envelopes. These are 7 by 7 inch envelopes. I bought them from Craft Stash to go with my 6 by 6 inch cards. So these are slightly a bit big for these cards, which are also 6 by 6, but my 6 by 6 ones that I did in my other series had massive elements on them, so I needed really big envelopes. So I got these ones from Craft Stash. And I've stamped on the back as well using my stamp platform. And I absolutely love how this card turned out. I hope you've had fun with me today. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Please do subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.